Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today, I want to talk about what would happen if we were under a gold standard. And before I start, I like to say I don't think the chances of the world going back on a gold standard, on the nations of the world going back to sound money, is very high. But it doesn't mean to say that we can't aspire for it. It doesn't mean that we can't try to inform people about what a gold standard and sound money is all about. I would include silver as well into the equation, but today I'm going to focus on the gold standard. At least we can try to be on our own gold standards and silver standards by stacking precious metals. And by that, I don't mean ETFs or gold futures or silver futures. I mean real physical coins and bars, right? So one big point about gold and a gold standard worldwide is that gold has been accepted, much like silver, of course, as a store of value, as money, as currency, as backing for fiat currencies for thousands of years. Gold is accepted everywhere around the world. And that's why the major nations of the world and even the lesser nations economically still hold a lot of gold reserves, because they know that in the end of the day, it's the only form of money that will survive a major crisis. So think of a world where a lot of the things, most of the things that we're experiencing now would be kind of reversed. So one of the things I can think about that's really very important, especially nowadays, and has been really for the last 50 years, is the fact that our governments throughout the world don't have fiscal discipline. They're running huge deficits. They're racking up huge national debts. Under a gold standard, that becomes very difficult, because under a gold standard, under the use of sound money, governments have to think twice, and politicians, of course, about borrowing money, because they can't really create it out of thin air, the fiat currency. It has to be backed by an amount of gold. Of course, there is a credit aspect to that, but I'm just going through the general idea here. So yeah, one major thing would be that governments would be a lot less powerful, and that means the public would be a lot more powerful, and that means freedom. So that's the most important thing, I would say. Internationally, amongst nations, it would mean that countries would be more honest with each other in terms of commercial transactions. They wouldn't be running trade deficits as we see nowadays, especially the United States. And other countries wouldn't be running as much surpluses. Things would balance, because if you don't have the money, you can't buy it. So you need to try to grow your economy so you can produce things that people want, and you can sell it and accumulate the gold reserves to balance your books. So that also fosters the international division of labor. Under the current system, what we see is a lot of countries trying to compete with the United States. So they try to undercut everything. They don't really focus on the things that they do well. And you can think of China and other countries, and they try to run surpluses, because the only way they can function is to have paper dollars in this system. Under a gold standard, it would be the opposite. You would see very little trade and current account imbalances. So that's the second most important thing, I would say. And that leads to wars, which of course is very important, but I'll put it as a third point here. It makes wars very expensive, of course, if you have to spend all the country's gold. It will make politicians and adventurers and bankers think twice about starting a war. And of course, in the past, under a gold standard, I have to admit, governments and even the bankers, they've suspended the gold standard. They suspended convertibility to wage wars, but we'd have to find a way to stop that. And am I saying there will be no more wars if we were back on the gold standard? No, because I think, unfortunately, that's the nature, human nature, to fight with each other. But it would make people think twice. I don't think we would have major wars like we had World War I and World War II. There's a lot of speculation that World War I would have probably ended in less than a year, maybe a little more than a year, if all the major warring countries in Europe hadn't gone off gold and hadn't started printing fiat currency, because that's what happened. And Europe hasn't been under a gold standard since 1914. The US, of course, remained under a domestic gold standard until 1933. Of course, the world was under a gold exchange system, the Bretton Woods system, from 44 to 71. So basically, yeah, it's been over 100 years since we've had sound, honest money, really, for the major countries of the world. And it only takes the major countries, the major nations, to adopt the system for everyone to follow, because if they don't follow, they can't function in the world, right? The other point I would make is that it gives the public more freedom, more independence. And why is that? Well, because they have the right to redeem their paper currency, which should be backed by gold. And that's always a tricky question. What kind of leverage the banking system under a gold standard is going to use? I would say, and this is a different subject, of course, preferably we wouldn't have central banks either, because central banks give bankers like a put, right? They give them the protection that they can lend more than they have of gold reserves. They will issue more credit than they should, really, because they've got the central banks at their backs. As it's been said, the central bankers are lenders of last resort. I think it's a really bad idea. So I would get rid of the central bank as well. So there you go. That gives the public freedom. If they think politicians and the business sector in general are being too profligate, that there's too much spending, not enough investment and production, and that they think interest rates are too low, they will redeem that gold from their bank accounts and protect their savings. And that will make interest rates rise to attract back the gold. And it works quite well. It's a free market, of course. That's the other thing that we would have more under a gold standard, in my opinion, is more free markets, more laissez-faire economics. But that goes, of course, hand in hand with smaller government. So it's completely the opposite of what we have now. Nowadays, we have big government, heavy state intervention, continuous wars, deficit spending, inflation, loads of conflict worldwide, trade disputes, right? So I think under a gold standard, the world would be a much better place. Would it be perfect? No, as I said, but there would be a tendency for things to be a lot better. But it all depends on the public. Of course, in our current political system of supposedly representative democracy, or under a Republican system, the public should decide, right? So the public needs to be aware of that. Right now, I think politically, there's still a lot of people out there who want everything for nothing and the government to look after themselves. So that's how the world would be, in my opinion, under a gold standard. And the chances aren't that great right now, but who knows? Let's quickly look at the markets this morning. Yesterday, we were seeing the dollar, of course, making new lows, 28-month lows, but the dollar has rebounded since. The dollar index right now is at 92.53 or thereabouts, or 92.38. Yesterday, we got to a new low of 91.74. So we've seen a rebound. As usual, things don't go up or down in a straight line. I noticed silver was sold off yesterday, late yesterday, after the COMEX close. Who knows what happened there? But as I've said, this is just noise here. In the longer term, we're not going back on the gold standard. We're going further and further into deficit spending, money printing. So hold on to your hats, I would say. Right now, it's 8:39 a.m. London. We're at 1960 in gold. We're down 10. The low has been 1955, the high 1974. Silver almost got up to 29 yesterday. Right now we're at 27.73, low is 27.64, so we're down about 36 cents. The stock market continues to move higher. I think it's crazy, of course. I'm not going to get involved. A lot of people need to be careful, I think, if they join in right now. The Dow is at 28,780. It's up 140 points. Dow future just under 0.5%. S&P 3548, up 0.6. NASDAQ, of course, continues to go higher. It's up 1.1% at 12,431. What about the currencies? As I said, the dollar has rebounded, so the pound has come back down. I think we almost went up to 135 yesterday. Right now we're at 133.37, down 1/3%. The euro is down about 1/3 as well at 118.72. I think we reached 120. So we're seeing a reversal there of dollar weakness a little bit. Does that mean it's finished? I don't think so. The trend still seems lower. Dollar yen is unchanged, 106.04. And dollar yuan as well is pretty much where we were yesterday when I made my video, 682.80. Crude oil up 0.8%, WTI at 43.24. So to finish off the bond market, you'd think the 10-year yield would be back up almost to 1% here with the stock markets still raging ahead. But no, the 10-year yield has actually dropped from where we were yesterday when I made my video. We're at 0.677. It's unchanged overnight, but still relatively low, I would say. The 2-year is at 0.137. So that's a tad higher. There you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.